while they were delicious, something about this wood, I guess I'll figure this out later, put like a soot all over the outside of them. Still tastes fine, but hopefully I don't like die out here tomorrow or something.
Oh, now you're heavy to carry.
Hey guys, back at Guadalupe Mountains National Park, back out here with ChucoHiker again. Last trip turned out so good, we decided to come do another. This time we're heading out from the McKittrick Canyon Trailhead, and we're gonna head up Wilderness Ridge, which is that big ridge right there, and head over into New Mexico and into the Lincoln National Forest and do some camping up there, exploring around. And it's a beautiful day. It's a little windy, but really clear skies, and temperature feels really nice. Not going to be super cold, and just excited to get out there and get going. Crossing the McKittrick Canyon Wash. And the weather is just absolutely perfect. Got several thousand feet to go up to get up there. So my shoes for this trip are these Merrell trail gloves. They're a really minimalist shoe, and you can see what we're walking over. Pretty much the worst form of footwear you could pick for a trail like this, but for some reason I keep wearing them. So look back at McKittrick Canyon Ranger Station, and you can see the direction we came, the McKittrick Canyon Trail. It's just on the other side of that wash there in the center of the shot, and it heads more up the canyon that direction. Stays low for the first few miles, whereas we immediately have started ascending up the ridge this direction. There's Chuco heading up this way, and when I pulled up, we just started talking like we were old friends. No, we've only really met one time. It's going well so far, huh?
Yeah.
First few ocotillos of the trip. You can tell how dry it's been. These are bare bones, no leaves on them. I don't think it's been raining much out this way here lately. They did get a little bit of snow in that big snowstorm a lot of people saw at Big Bend right at the end of the year or first of this year. Guadalupe Mountains got a pretty good amount of snow, but nothing like what Big Bend got. Kind of interesting rock we're walking on over here in this section. Much different than any other area of the park. Been seeing a lot of ocotillo. You can see this one hadn't quite dropped all its leaves, but it's definitely going to. None of these really have leaves on them right now. Just too dry, I guess. We got a real cool section coming up. That rock that's right there in the center of the shot. You get to go in between that and the cliffside. And that's a really nice place during the warmer weather, because it stays cool in there even when it's hot outside. You can instantly feel the temperature change, and it's a really nice place to catch some shelter from the sun on your way up to Wilderness Ridge. So look at how much cactus is all over this hillside. Cactus and ocotillo. Pretty dense section of thorns. Coming into the split rock section. Woo! There's that shade. Yeah, it's instantly cooler right now, even in the cooler temperatures. There you can see the road coming into the visitor center. That's the longest road in the park for two-wheel drive. They do have an off-road, four-wheel drive road out to Williams Ranch, but I think this road's something like 4 or 5 miles from the highway into McKittrick Canyon. So if you're coming out here to do an auto tour of the park, that's pretty much it. There's not a lot of roads in the park itself course, there's all the highways and things around the park. You get some pretty good views. It's just a continuation of that last little split rock section. Just super nice, cool spot to catch your breath. You can see people down below us on the McKittrick Canyon Trail. Give you an idea of where it goes. It's that smaller white path. See right there in the center of the shot where it crosses the wash. And it's a pretty wide gravel path. And the reason it's wide like that is Wallace Pratt, and I'm sure several others, used to drive their truck back in there, back to Pratt Cabin. I believe the road continued on up to the grotto and the Hunter Line Shack. It's about the spot it ended at. And I don't know if it follows the exact same route when they used to drive in there, but that's why the trail's so wide and gravelly like it is. So I forgot to mention it is January 31st, 2021. So we are post the mask mandate, or Biden issuing it anyway. So you're supposed to wear your masks on federal land, and I've seen lots of different interpretations of that. Just FYI, didn't really need them at McKittrick Canyon. There wasn't a volunteer or a ranger there, and I didn't really see anybody else wearing any, especially a couple people we saw hiking. Now, I didn't go to Pine Springs. Chuco did, so let me stop and ask him what it was like over there. He stopped and picked our permits up for us. Zoomed in a little bit. You can see some water down there in McKittrick Canyon, down there in the creek. And I know I've mentioned this in lots of videos, but that water flows above ground, then below ground, back up again, back below. So you can see right where it ends. It goes back underground, and then this part of the canyon doesn't have any water in it for the rest of its time here in the park anyway. But even if you hike farther up McKittrick Canyon, you'll find places where there's no water anymore, and then you'll run into it again. So that's why, because it flows above and below ground. Now we are counting on getting some water on this trip, and I only brought 5 liters. I was only bringing 4. I let Chuco talk me into bringing one more, and then he brought 6. I think I kind of talked him into bringing one less. So we got 2 options for water on this trip once we get into the national forest, and I'm pretty confident that at least one of those will work out, and we should be able to filter some water out there. Chuco always does his best to blend in with the environment. Makes it hard to spot him when you're looking back down the ridge for him. What was the mask situation like at Pine Springs? Were everybody wearing masks outside and everything? No? Cool rock wall we're under here on Permian Reef Trail. Well, I just came over the saddle. That's the top of Wilderness Ridge up there. So we're probably about 2/3 of the way up. Still got quite a few more switchbacks to go. But we did get our first views back to the north a little bit. I believe that'd be northeast, farther into New Mexico. So a lot of people have heard of McKittrick Ridge's Notch. Pretty famous spot in the park. Well, the Permian Reef Trail and Wilderness Ridge has its own version of the Notch, where you can see down into 2 canyons at once. And this is a really cool spot. This is looking back into McKittrick Canyon, and I mean, that's an amazing view right there. And right over this way, seeing the side of Wilderness Ridge, down its wash. The canyon leads down from it to the high desert out there in New Mexico. Let's see if we can zoom in and find Chuco. He's a little ways behind me. There he is, right there in the center of the shot. Just a couple switchbacks down. And I'm going to wait for him here at the Notch. And it's getting about lunchtime. That is lunch for today. Got some summer sausage, saltines, and some habanero cheese. That's what I was saying about this trip. It's cool. It's not very many miles every day.
Nah.
This is the hardest part, I think, of the trip.
Coming down might get interesting.
Maybe.
At least it's down.
Saw quite a few aoudad while we were sitting here eating lunch. They are right in this area of the shot. First ones I've ever seen out here. Doing this on digital zoom, you may be able to see them a little better. I think there's 5 of them over there. First pine trees. First trees of any size, really. Stopping to take a break in the shade of this madrone. Almost at the top. You can see a lot of pine trees coming into view. And they'll get thicker the farther back we go. It's really awesome to come up such a barren hillside and then look deeper back into the mountains. There's pretty good forest up here. So if I haven't mentioned it already, the plan for this trip is 2 nights. We're camping both of them in the Lincoln National Forest. So yes, you do still have to get a backcountry permit from Guadalupe Mountains National Park to be able to leave your vehicles down there and hike through the backcountry and not come back to your vehicle that night. But we didn't reserve any campsites for the park because we're staying in the National Forest for both nights. Little different rules once you cross the boundary between the park and the National Forest, which is also the boundary between Texas and New Mexico. Quite a bit different. You can camp wherever you want. You can have fires. Yeah, you can do all sorts of stuff, fly drones. You can drive back there and the roads that you can get to. But we're going to go camp back there for a couple nights. And hopefully if we can find a place out of the wind, we'll be able to have a fire. It's really not too windy out here, except for right here at the edge where I'm at right now, waiting on Chuco to come up. Farther back in the forest, I don't expect it to be near as windy. Already checked, there is no fire ban or anything, so we're really looking forward to that. And hopefully it works out, because I brought brats to eat tonight, and I need the fire to be able to cook them, so that's the plan anyway. One good view off the edge of Wilderness Ridge, looking down into the desert. Awesome views off here. Super windy. It's definitely way colder. It's gotten way colder since lunch anyway. I was looking back toward the park over there on the right. And Chuco coming up, he's almost at the top. Trees are getting thicker and thicker. And as we hike farther back into Wilderness Ridge, they'll get even thicker. It's really neat to be able to go from such a barren hillside hike on the way up here. Everything's super thorny, and get up here and have big pine trees. Just got done telling Chuco that my number one wish for this trip is to see a mountain lion, so if he could make that happen. Clint came through for me at Big Bend. I was hoping to see some bears, and we ended up seeing 5 on that trip a couple months ago, so I think the chances are pretty high. No telling what we'll find on this trip. Just really enjoying this walk through the trees. Starting to get some of those amazing views down into McKittrick. Really dramatic views of this part of the park. And we're real close to the border. We'll be passing by the Wilderness Ridge campsites here in a little bit. Give you a shot of what those look like. These are the Wilderness Ridge backcountry campsites at Guadalupe Mountains National Park. And this is a really cool place to camp up here. And looks like at least a couple of these tent pads are going to be in pretty good condition. This is the very first one you come to right off the trail, and you don't. It's an awesome look down into McKittrick. This is definitely one of the top views in the park. You can see water in the creek down there at various spots, and just really dramatic mountains looking back from Wilderness Ridge. Just on the other side of that big rock closest to us is the Pratt cabin. It'll be down there where all these canyons come together. about the most awesome place you could possibly pick to put a house. As long as you don't mind getting flooded in once every few years. Just made it to the border. And this is the big fence we here in Texas use to keep all the people from New Mexico out. I think it's actually just a fence to keep the cows out from the national forest. See the boundary line? And there was an ammo can over here somewhere. See if we can find it. Well, I never could find the ammo can and the register that was up here. It was right over by that sign there. Anyway, I guess we're not going to worry about that. And we're over into New Mexico in the Lincoln National Forest. I remember this spot is about a mile up here from the border, and we're going to go check that out and see if that'll work for us. I think it'll be a pretty good spot. Give you an idea of the forest that we just came through. That's the way we came from, across Wilderness Ridge. So we've made it to the four-wheel drive road section of this trail, and you can come in from Lincoln National Forest this way and drive all the way up here. So if you had a vehicle equipped for it, it's a super rough road. But if you had a built-up Jeep or something like that, this would be an awesome place to overland at. Anyway, it's made the hiking a lot easier because the trail's pretty overgrown once you hit the state line back there. So it's nice to not be getting poked in the leg by everything. And we are almost to our campsite for the night. I should also mention that this entire hike in the National Forest has been right here on the edge of the cliff, looking down into McKittrick. So anytime you get bored or tired or anything, you can refuel by looking to the west and looking down in McKittrick. Chuco found us some Guadalupe Ridge Trail stickers. That's what we're on right now. You can keep hiking this route and end up all the way on the other side of Carlsbad Caverns. We're going to head up right here and hopefully find a decent campsite right here off the main trail. Well, I think we found camp for the night. Just up this trail that we started up. Beautiful spot. We got a good place for Chuco. He's going to be in a bivvy tonight, so on the ground. I'm going to be in a hammock. Got plenty of trees to hang. There's a fire pit already built further back over in the more rocky area. So this is looks like it's going to be home for the night. So I brought a hammock on this trip, and this is exactly why. Because in the Lincoln National Forest, there's cow crap all over the place. It's nice to be up off the ground. All right, so we got camp set up. Still got time to see the sunset. We're going to do a little wood collecting, which is not going to be tough around here. There are downed limbs everywhere. We're not going to have a huge fire or anything. But you can see my setup there. It's a War Bonnet Ridge Runner hammock, a War Bonnet tarp, and then same quilt that I always have, Go Light Ultra 20 quilt, and then this red quilt under quilt is a Arrowhead Equipment Ridge Creek synthetic quilt, and I think that should keep me warm tonight. Expecting temperatures down around freezing, maybe slightly lower. It's already getting pretty cold out here. There's Chuco's set up over there. He's got a new tarp he's going with from Gossamer Gear and a bivvy. What kind of bivvy do you have? Boragear bivvy. So he's definitely way lighter than I am on the shelter, but
yeah, my pack is still heavier.
Somehow his pack's still heavier. Anyway, he talked me into that extra liter of water, so I think I have enough for some extra coffee. And we're going to head right over here to the edge. There's a fire pit, and we're going to make our fire and have dinner. It's really still up here, not windy at all. And I think it's going to be a great night. We almost missed sunset. Getting stuff ready for our fire. It's amazing the different colors the mountains can take in the different light. And right up there by where Chuco is where our fire ring is, and our campsite's just down the hill right back behind them. Got some amazing views all real close where we're staying tonight.
We didn't have to cut this one.
Chuco has gotten really serious about this fire. He's broken out the saw.
I sawed the smallest piece of wood and the smaller pieces.
We got a pretty good wall built back here on the vegetation side, so I think we got a really good fire pit made. There was already one here, but we added some rocks to it, and it is not breezy or windy at all. Perfect night for this. Got my brat going. It's a jalapeno cheddar brat, and then I'm gonna put that inside of a flour tortilla, and I brought some mustard to put on there. It's gonna be super good. So what are you having for dinner?
I'm having Nor taco rice, I think it is, with canned chicken. And it's delicious.
Taco Bell hot sauce.
With Taco Bell hot sauce.
Of course. I had brats, and while they were delicious, something about this wood, I guess I'll figure this out later, put like a soot all over the outside of them. Still tastes fine, but hopefully I don't like die out here tomorrow or something.
Oh, now you're heavy to carry.
You can just leave me. Almost forgot, I also brought cookies, so that'll be good. And then it's gonna be bourbon time. Well guys, that's about it for the night. Had a really great fire, good dinner, good drinks afterward, and some good company. Anyway, feels like it's gonna be really cold tonight. And I just got everything settled in for bed, about to climb in the hammock and call it a night. Had a really good day today, felt good, hike was good, and looking forward to tomorrow. Tomorrow's gonna be a little bit off trail and down into some areas that I've never explored before, so pretty excited about that. And some more of the Lincoln National Forest. We'll see you in the morning. Good morning, everybody. Right at sunrise, walk down here to the edge to watch it come up, watch the colors of the sky. I think I'm about to head back over to my hammock, get back in, and make my coffee and drink some coffee right from the hammock where I can stay warm. I realized this morning that I forgot my gloves, so hopefully it warms up quick, or I'll be walking with my hands in my pockets. I don't think it got much below freezing last night because my 1 liter bottles aren't frozen or anything, but it is very cold. Anyway, head back up there and get some coffee and eat some breakfast. Sun just peeked over the horizon out there. Feels good. Ooh, the coffee's extra fine this morning. Feels great on my hands. The sun feels awesome now that it's come up. Olivia made me some peanut butter Rice Krispies. So that's breakfast this morning. Be delicious and plenty of calories. Well, we just left camp and getting on the trail right now. We got 8.7 miles or so to do today. And right now we're headed over to Devil's Den Spring in Devil's Den Canyon in New Mexico. And gonna be hopefully finding some water there. If not, we got one more shot at water a little later in the day. We got about a mile to our trail junction. And just really excited to be out here in the sun. It's warming us up. Anyway, gonna put my camera away because my hands are freezing and get to walking. That cloud looks cool.
Yeah.
So it was a little breezy this morning over where we were camping at. We haven't walked very far at all. It's kind of rounded the bend a little bit, and it's pretty windy up here. So I think we picked an excellent spot out of the wind, and that was an awesome campsite. I'll definitely be staying there again if I'm camping up here on Wilderness Ridge. Super nice to be able to have the fire, and we hit decent conditions for it. It is pretty dry out here, but there wasn't any wind last night. Had a good fire pit built up, and it was really nice to be able to cook some dinner over the fire and warm up a little bit. Our first wildlife encounter today. It's a water tank right up there. See if I can get Chuco on video getting run over. Man, I was hoping for something more exciting.
I don't want to agitate it too much. Sorry.
That cow's up here getting water and came up here to check it after it walked off and frozen on top. So it did get down to freezing last night. There's the two bigger water tanks that feed over here. Heading to Devil's Den Spring, which is going to be 3/4 of a mile or so this direction, 1 mile, something like that. And we're just going down this way to check it out, see if it's got any water, and then we'll be heading back this same direction. All right, we made it over to the Devil's Den Trail. Gonna head down here looking for some views and some water. So look over into Dog Canyon, I believe. Have to double check that. Our first view out this direction, and I won't even try to zoom in on it, but we can see Sierra Blanca farther out in the distance, all snow-capped. Just had a coyote run across the trail in front of us. Probably won't still be up here, but getting to see a lot of cool wildlife on this trip. I mean, not the cow, but aoudad, coyote, that's pretty cool. Kind of a neat area just right up the canyon from the actual spring itself. Looks like that was once an old cabin or something like that. There's a big, huge coil of some really thick steel cable, and more of it goes farther down, so I don't know if it used to span the canyon itself. A little farther up, we saw a 55-gallon drum. That looks like it may be newer. Now that cable, I can see it farther up the canyon that way, so no telling what all this stuff was. It's pretty neat to think about people. I don't know if they lived out here or what, just neat to think about people being out this far. So this is looking down Devil's Den Canyon. Really spectacular. Super glad we came over this way to explore this. And we still haven't even made it to the spring yet. This is super amazing though, looking out to the west, northwest, something like that. Really pretty. This is looking back up Devil's Den Canyon. So this would be the direction that the spring is, if the spring is flowing at all. And I don't see any water down there in the canyon, and I wouldn't expect this spring to have much water. Very rough trail, super steep getting down in here, but really pretty section. So now we're hiking down in the wash itself, and there's a tiny bit of water. Well, that is not much at all. Just barely seeping out. Definitely not enough to fill up from. Looks like it may be frozen still. Yep, frozen on top. All right, so pretty much came to a dead end, and this is just up above where we found the water, which is where I think the actual spring is. But you can see some pretty big holes that would most likely fill in with water after some good rains. But it has been a super dry out here this year, or I guess going back to the end of last year. So I don't see any more water. There is one more big pool or big hole right here where a tiny bit of water is. I mean, but that's not really enough to filter or anything, but you can see how it could fill in with some rain. And then the spot we saw that may be trickling out right now is just right at about as far as you can see up this wash. So in a wetter time of year, you're probably going to find water down here. It's still really cool to come down here and explore. Luckily for us, we don't really need that water. So now we got a long way to hike back up this Devil's Den Canyon Trail, all uphill back to the main trail we were on originally. Lookout Dog Canyon Way.
Want to keep going? That's too good a view.
So for all you who let your balloons go and wonder where they end up, there's one of them way out here in the middle of nowhere. What a good guy Chuco is, taking the balloon with him. Told him to tie it to his pack and help lighten it up a little bit, but
probably a good idea.
Needed just a little more helium. It's looking south back into the park. Sorry for the wind. Just looking down into Dog Canyon. We were just talking about, I think this is just north of the park, but we're still trying to figure that out. Then you can see way out there into West Texas and southern New Mexico. So we just started our descent off the ridge. Found a couple cairns from where people have done this route before. And this has got to be one of the widest views out here in the Guads. It's really cool, everything you can see. And just behind the ridge we're on the left, the views just keep going and going and going. But right now we're making our way down this ridge, and I can see some cairns farther down, so start heading down and looking for a place out of the wind to eat some lunch. So we just made our way down. The top is just above that wall of white rocks up there. Chuco coming down over on the very far left-hand side, back behind that tree. And pretty much just pick your way down through there. There were cairns for a lot of it, so that was nice to not have to pull out a GPS or anything. And then we're right here at this really pretty meadow. Oh yeah, this is a lot nicer on the feet, walking in dirt. This is a beautiful spot. For lunch, having saltines with the habanero cheese and summer sausage again. Super good, and should have plenty to fill me up. We're just making our way down the wash right now. And pretty much follow this for the rest of the day. Some spots have been pretty thick. Others are a little easier walking. Never can tell what you'll find out here. Whatever that is, looks like it's been there a while. I hadn't been videoing much because the route's been super thick and pretty tough. This is one of the easier sections right here. Spent a lot of climbing over boulders and stepping down and some really thick vegetation in certain places. We have found one little tanaha with some water in it. It was frozen. It was frozen pretty thick, so it did get pretty cold last night. This is our first side canyon that's poured into where we're walking down. And both canyons come together, and that's the way we're headed right there. This has been super slow going, but it's getting better, getting a little wider, less vegetation. That's looking back the way I just came. Chuco's still back there. I've been getting a few minutes ahead of him and then stopping and waiting. You can't really get off the trail here because it just follows this wash. And the wash has really opened up since that little side canyon poured in. So that's made it super nice. Still rough on your feet walking over all this rock and stuff, but I'd much rather have that than be getting scratched all through all the branches and everything. Also, another big obstacle we've had to deal with are leaves down here. I mean, there's just be super thick piles of leaves. You don't want to step in those, and if you do, it could be a rock right underneath it, or it could be 2 foot deep pile of leaves. I ran into that a couple times. Anyway, so it pretty much just been rock hopping like what you would do going through a stream, trying to keep your feet dry. And the pace has definitely picked up. We were going a mile per hour or maybe even less first couple hours of this canyon, but it is not easy, but it's definitely getting easier. I'm pretty sure that ridge back there in the back is Wilderness Ridge, where we camped last night. So you can see how far down we've dropped since we started down this trail. I think we got about a mile to go to get to where we're planning on camping for the night. We ran into our first water since way back farther up in the canyon. A couple small tanahas down here. Some pretty nasty looking water, but I do think we'll end up finding more water farther up. We're starting to run into some big canyon walls, and this is why we're doing this route. It's for stuff like this. That first part was not fun, but it's starting to get better. Tiny little arch right there in that canyon wall. Well, we're starting to see more and more pools. So that gives me hope we'll find water at the junction with the next canyon. And that's a Wilderness Ridge up there. It would make my year if somebody was up there looking down here right now and thought, hey, look, there's a guy in a blue shirt. Heck yeah. I think we found our water for the night. Ran into the other canyon we were looking for, which is up that direction. And we're gonna look for a campsite, hopefully back in the woods. All right, there's home for the night. Not the most ideal location, but I think it'll work for me. I'm gonna put my tarp up tonight. Really not a chance of rain at all, but you never know. I guess I'll drape it over me if it starts sprinkling or something. Chuco's setting up his bivvy back there. We got a nice fire ring, some wood someone left here, and then we got flowing water just on the other side of where we're at right here. And about to go down there and filter some water, get a couple liters. So I'm cooking brats again tonight. Awesome to have a fire out here. And then what I've been putting them on is just a flour tortilla, and that's some mustard I made up myself because I didn't have any mustard packets. It worked out pretty good last night, pretty tasty. And it's awesome to be able to have a fire out here. This is super cool camping trip. Our fire's been real nice tonight. About to have the rest of this bourbon. Good way to end night 2. Looking forward to in the morning. It's going to be some more hard hiking. Well, guys, that's it for the night. Getting in the hammock. Had a pretty tough day today. And hopefully in the morning it's not too bad. We got about 5 to 5.5 miles to get out of here and make it back to our cars at the McKittrick Canyon Trailhead. So I'll see you in the morning. Got my stove going. Get my water boiling for coffee. My Foster's canned pot. It's another peanut butter Rice Krispie treat for breakfast this morning. And then over here I got my coffee set up in the drip. I'll just pour the water right over that into that cup. And worked out really awesome yesterday. This is a really nice campsite. And we had good views out of here this morning. Sun's already come up back behind these ridges. We had some awesome colors a little bit earlier. Anyway, we really enjoyed our stay here. This has been an awesome campsite and just something totally different in the Guads. I will say the last time I was in Lincoln National Forest, I wasn't a huge fan. But this time it has been absolutely awesome. Everything we've went through here has been awesome. And the hammock was definitely a big up compared to last time. I knew there's cows, and just being able to get up off the ground was really nice. So anyway, we're going to have breakfast and then head out. So I don't think I mentioned it, but yesterday we did see a skunk up on one of the hillsides. And I've seen lots of skunks out here at Guadalupe Mountains, but they've been around the car campgrounds, Pine Springs and Dog Canyon. So that was something new I've never seen out in the backcountry or out in the wild before. So we've seen 3 things now that I've never seen out here in the backcountry. Seen the skunk, the coyote, and then the aoudad. And that's pretty neat. So definitely counting on seeing something else again today. And still counting on the mountain lion. Would be awesome. And I think that some of the canyons we're hiking through would be prime mountain lion country. We'll just have to see what we can find. But just been an awesome experience being able to see all this new kind of wildlife. Well, this is our route for this morning, and we're going to do our best to keep our feet dry. No guarantees that'll happen. I know at some point this water is going to go back underground. Just not sure when. Super beautiful area we'll be hiking in. And we'll be doing some rock hopping and trying to stay dry. There's the sign for the Texas state line. It's also the end of the Lincoln National Forest and the start of Guadalupe Mountains National Park. Heading back into Texas. It's super beautiful. This big slab rock has been super awesome to walk on. Feet are super sore from walking all over the little small boulders and small rocks yesterday and start of this morning. This has been super nice. And this is an amazing section of trail or route. No trail, but I was starting to wonder yesterday because that getting down to where we camped at last night kind of sucked, for lack of a better term. This morning has made it all worth it. This is awesome. Now there's a super nice deep pool. We saw one yesterday. It was deeper than that. You could have jumped into. But this is in flowing water, and that's a deep pool you could stand up in probably. It's going to take us 5 hours to hike this section of the route because we've just been stopping every few feet to take video, pictures, and just take it all in. My goodness. Well, you can see there's a dead fish right there on the bottom of this pool, but we can see several live ones in there swimming around. And I know they won't show up on camera, but this is the first pool we've come to that we found fish. That little pool right there in the middle may be our last water for a little bit. Looks like it's all gone underground. It's another thing that's really unique about this area. All the faults and cracks in the earth that water will come out and go back underground. I'm sure we'll run into it again here shortly. Well, this is the end of the water again. Runs out and we're back into a dry creek bed. So once again, I know we'll find it pop back up here in just a little bit. Had to stop and take my long sleeve shirt off. I don't know if I mentioned, it was not near as cold last night as it was the first night. First night got down below freezing. Saw the pools around us were frozen. But last night stayed pretty hot. It's almost too hot in my hammock. And now that we're hiking out in the sun, it's getting pretty warm again. Had to throw on the shades. It's gotten real sunny. It's hot down here. We started out about 8:10 this morning. We've been hiking for about an hour and 15 minutes. I don't know why I keep putting my camera up. Every time we go around the corner, there's a super awesome view. This hike's been so beautiful. Almost takes your mind off of how bad feet hurt, how sore we are from yesterday. Really pretty madrone. Doesn't have much of the red bark, but that soft, smooth underbark is really pretty. Lots of madrones on this section, lining the creek bed. Here's one with the redder bark. The bark on these trees is just amazing. Got outer bark, that red bark that peels away, almost looks like paper. You get farther up, you get that smooth white. And then over here, here's a dead branch. And it's cool how these madrones, they adapt to water conditions. This is looking back behind us. And over toward the side, just wanted to show you, we got near 360 views all the way around. It's amazing canyon walls. Might not show up that great looking into the sun this direction, but it's awesome views all the way around. And this is definitely the longest stretch we've gone without any water in the canyon. But it's helping out, traveling a little bit faster. We were stopping every couple minutes to take pictures and videos earlier. Well, the canyon just got super wide. Might be coming to a junction with another canyon. This is the way that we're coming from. You can see Chuco hiking in the middle of the canyon. And then here is the side canyon that pours into here. And they both come together, and we're heading down this way. Really not too much farther. We'll be back out onto a real trail. Look what we found. This is my old buddy Wally Pratt's cabin. Well, we're taking a break here at the Pratt cabin. Just gonna chill for a little bit, stretch, and then we got a 2.4 miles or 2.5, something like that, back to the trailhead. All on trail, shouldn't be too bad. So just enjoy our time here. I can't imagine having this front porch with this view.
What do you think so far, Cameron?
Oh, it's been super easy. Just super easy hiking the whole time.
Easy too.
I'm trying to think about what I'm going to stop and eat on the way home. What'd you say you're getting?
I'm going to swing by a Jack in the Box for sure. Give me a big fat double.
That's awesome.
Ultimate cheeseburger.
You? I don't know. I got a bunch of snacks in the car. I know I'll eat those and then see what I come across. I'm not real familiar with what those little towns have. I know they have like McDonald's and stuff, but that doesn't sound good.
We'll probably have a Carl's. Not Carl's Jr. Lake's Lottaburger. Those are all over New, because you're cutting through New Mexico.
All right, we're packing up. I'm about to head out from Pratt Cabin and head back toward the McKittrick Canyon Trailhead. About 2.5 miles, like I said. It's all going to be out in the sun, and I forgot my sun sleeves, so use this buff best I can to help keep it off my ears and the back of my neck, but my arms are going to be sunburned for sure. Super nice to be back on trail. Chuco was saying it's like being on a highway now. A lot easier on the feet. A little bit more shade. You can see Wilderness Ridge over on that left-hand side where we camped up the first night. We're just a little bit farther back around to the left out of the shot.
One of my favorite spots in this trip.
Well, we're back to the water. We have gone several miles of dry creek bed. And we got water again. I was telling Chuco this just a little bit ago, and it's kind of dumb, but for any Post Malone fans out there, anytime I pass a madrone, just in my head I always think, Post Madrone, I got a picture on my phone. I don't know why I do that. It's real dumb, but and there it was. Finally got a shoe wet. Hey, we made that whole off-trail section. Never had to step in any water, and right here by the trailhead finally got his foot wet.
Got it twice.
Man, coming out into a little more open desert section. We're about 3/4 of a mile or so from the trailhead. Getting pretty close, and luckily for us, it's gotten kind of cloudy and blocked off some of the sun, which has been super nice. We got a light breeze, and as long as the sun stays behind the clouds, it feels pretty good. So we didn't get to see our mountain lion on this trip. Chuco really let me down on that one, but we did see a lot of cool stuff. And for our new animals today, we saw those fish, which were really neat, and I'll have to look up what kind of fish they were. I think some sort of perch or something is what it looked like. And then just saw what I thought was a coyote run across the trail, but it was a lot smaller than the coyote we saw yesterday. And I'm thinking maybe it was a fox, but I'll have to look that up and see if what type of foxes live out here match up with what I saw. Anyway, we saw a lot of cool stuff on this trip. We are just about back. We passed a grand total of 3 people on this trip, and they were all within the last hour or so on our way back here on McKittrick Canyon Trail. I think I'd call that a pretty good trip. Well guys, thanks for following along. That was our trip through Guadalupe Mountains and Lincoln National Forest. thanks for coming along, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. What a trip. Thanks for doing all the hard pre-planning work.
Well, I think the hardest part was the actual route itself.
That's true.
It was definitely tough. We got a lot of good rewards out of it, but anyway, don't know if I'd exactly do that same route again. But there were parts here and there that were super awesome. So appreciate you coming along.
Yeah, man, always a pleasure to join you. I really enjoyed this trip, dude. It was awesome.
And we'll see y'all next time. Thanks for following along.